Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, a family massacred in Mexico. 9 people, mostly children, ambushed by a drug cartel. How both countries are responding tonight. More help for San Diego's homeless population. It puts a roof over people's heads. But how sustainable is this new shelter?
When I asked the officers what this harassment was for, they said I fit a description. They said the description was of a robbery suspect, and it was a black male with hair.
An independent check on San Diego police, why voters might be asked to establish a new form of oversight. And the story that sent the Chargers owner into a profane tirade, the pushback to talks about another move. KPBS Evening Edition starts now. Good evening. It's Tuesday, November 5th. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Was it a targeted massacre or a case of mistaken identity? Mexican officials say a drug cartel killed 9 members of an American Mormon family, 3 women and 6 children. Several others survived. Adriel Hampton has more on the attack. Now, viewers might find some of the information upsetting.
I think a lot of us are just speechless.
Leah stayed in at a loss for words after learning that several of her family members were killed in Mexico in an ambush.
My sister could actually see the smoke from her house, and they heard the gunshots. 9
people were killed, several others injured, when the group was traveling between their family's ranch and Chihuahua for a wedding near Bavispe, Sonora. A total of 3 cars making the trip. All 3 ambushed by criminal groups who shot and burned at least one of the vehicles with the victims inside. 2 of the victims, 8-month-old babies.
It is a regretful disgrace because innocent children lost their lives, and we'll do what is appropriate in these cases, and it is our obligation to gather all the information to see the causes.
The gruesome attack also caught the attention of President Trump, who tweeted about the ambush, saying, "This is a time for Mexico, with the help of the United States, to wage war on the drug cartels and wipe them off the face of the earth. We merely await a call from your great new president."
Mexico has to really knuckle down and go after some of these cartels and stop this escalating level of violence.
The victims are members of a Mormon community. The FBI has offered to assist Mexico with the investigation. 7 of the injured children are being transported to a hospital in Tucson, Arizona for further treatment. Adriel Hampton, KPBS News.
Violence in Mexico is one reason why a new rule requiring asylum seekers to wait there has been criticized. KPBS reporter Max Rivlin-Nadler tells us how the ACLU is suing to help them receive legal help.
The plaintiffs in the lawsuit are a Guatemalan family of 7 who have been sent back to Mexico to wait as their asylum claims are processed in the U.S. After a court hearing this morning in San Diego, the family wasn't taken back to Mexico. Instead, they were put into Customs and Border Protection custody after expressing a fear of return to Mexico, which is dealing with an alarming spate of violence. Now, like hundreds of asylum seekers before them in the program, they're not being allowed to see a lawyer. This, even as they're being interviewed by Customs and Border Protection about their fear of return to Mexico. At the moment, their lawyers have no idea where they're even being held. Monica Langarica is a staff attorney with the ACLU.
That's part of the problem, right, is lawyers don't have access to their clients. They don't know exactly where their clients are taken. The lawyers' requests for information go unanswered. So no, we don't know exactly where they're being held right now.
Norma Chavez Peterson is the executive director of the American Civil Liberties Union of San Diego and Imperial counties. She says that by barring legal access, the civil rights of the asylum seekers are being violated.
We're also filing this case because the right to access a lawyer, the right to consult with a lawyer, and the right to an attorney is fundamental to who we are as a country.
The lawsuit will be heard by federal district judge Dana Sabra, the same judge who has presided over the ACLU's successful family separation lawsuit. Over 55,000 asylum seekers in total have been sent back to Mexico under the Remain in Mexico program. The lawsuit is seeking a temporary restraining order granting the ACLU access to their clients and a preliminary injunction which would give asylum seekers access to attorneys while they're being detained by CBP. Customs and Border Protection has told KPBS that it does not comment on pending litigation. Max Rivlin-Adler, KPBS News.
The California DMV is alerting people about a data breach, and this one has been going on for years. Today, the agency said the breach involves Social Security information of more than 3,000 people who were issued driver's licenses. The DMV says this wasn't a hack, but a situation in which federal agencies had improper access. Notices have been issued to those affected. The period in question goes back 4 years. Turning now to San Diego's housing crisis. A fourth homeless shelter is opening near downtown. But KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman says there are concerns about how the city is paying for the beds.
17th Street was really the epicenter for the Hep A and all that kind of stuff. It's really our Skid Row.
The new shelter is in a part of the East Village where many people who are homeless stay.
They're a choice for people to make, whether I want to continue to be outside and all the issues that come with that, or to come inside and get healthy.
The shelter is expected to open within a week and is operated by the nonprofit Alpha Project. CEO Bob McElroy says it's needed while more permanent supportive housing is being built.
So what do we do in the interim? We do these.
A new city plan to address homelessness calls for up to an additional 500 shelter beds. This shelter will add a little more than 100, and the mayor says more needs to be done.
We need to keep it up, keep offering these services, and really give people a place to go.
The homeless shelter is the fourth of its kind in San Diego. Altogether, they're costing an estimated $18 million per year to operate.
Yes, it costs dollars, but the cost for doing nothing is more. And the human cost and lives on the street. That's why these bridge shelters are such a lifeline, and we need to continue them. We need to grow them.
3 of the shelters have been open for 2 years, and all are being paid for with grants and other one-time funding sources.
We need to find the money going forward to continue to expand what we're doing.
The San Diego Housing Commission oversees the shelters and says they're key to tackling homelessness.
We are dealing with the issue, but we're not solving it yet because we don't have the resources yet to hit this in the numbers we need to solve the problem.
In the 2 years since the shelters have been open, nearly 1,000 people have gotten into some type of housing. The Alpha Project says people stay for as long as it takes.
We're lucky enough to find a place. They're here 2 weeks. Some people here are 8 months.
But not everyone living on the streets thinks they're a good idea.
It's been tried before. Nothing's working. It's just a temporary Band-Aid. It's not ending homelessness.
Stephen Roberts says he and his wife have been homeless for 3 years. To him, the solution is simple.
Accessible and affordable housing.
But homeless providers argue you can't place someone into a home until they're ready, and that's where these shelters come into play.
Now people have a place to be safe, out of the streets, part of the solution, get healthy, get on the road to recovery, and then we'll go from there.
The shelter will be available for single people and families. Operators expect it to fill up quickly. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
And homelessness is far from an issue unique only to San Diego. In the capital of Texas, it's led to a showdown between the city and the governor. Despite the city lifting a ban on camping, the state has moved in and tossed out tents and other belongings. We'll have more on this story a little bit later in the show. Hunger is another public health issue. 40% of food in our county is thrown away every day, according to one local nonprofit. But a new app being launched today will hopefully help fix that. KPBS reporter Priya Sridhar explains.
Meal Connect is awesome, especially as a restaurant owner, because at the end of the night, we always have leftover food, right? And it's our responsibility as restaurant owners to make sure that we're doing something productive with that food.
Idris Tafik is the owner of Cafe Socrates, a Mediterranean restaurant at the food court in the Fashion Valley Mall. He says his cafe has anywhere from a few plates of leftover food to a few pounds each day.
I think it's unethical to waste food. I think it's un-American to waste food. I think it's very important for people just to find it in their heart, and especially business owners. You should be able to find a way to contribute to your community.
We'll cover it all back up again.
And that's what he's been doing for the past month as one of the pilot participants for a new app called Meal Connect.
It's super easy to do. It's a no-brainer.
We couldn't be happier than to be here today announcing a bold new technology.
The app was introduced to the wider public today by Feeding San Diego, a local nonprofit dedicated to solving hunger and ending food waste.
The next wave of hunger relief is going to be achieved by rescuing food from irregular food donors, from restaurants, from caterers, from hotels, from others who don't have enough food to give every single day, but they have a lot of food when you look at it on an annualized basis.
Feeding San Diego already distributes 26 million meals a day around the county. They say 97% of those meals would otherwise go to waste.
So right here, you click on the app, it's going to open up.
The Meal Connect app allows restaurant owners like Tafiq to take a picture of the food they want to donate, note the amount of the donation, and when they want it to be picked up.
Then you hit submit.
Then the app texts volunteers like Nancy Kane, who will come pick up the food and bring it to one of Feeding San Diego's 170 local partners that deliver meals directly to people who are hungry.
This is something that a volunteer can do anytime. You know, they set up the parameters ahead of time on when they initially set up the app, and then they can just accept or decline. So it's something they can do. It takes very little training, very little time, and it can make a big difference.
Feeding San Diego believes this app will allow everyone in the county to take an active role in making sure their neighbors are not hungry. Priya Sridhar, KPBS News.
For more information on how you can volunteer to be a driver or donate leftover food from a restaurant, you can visit our website, kpbs.org. San Diego City Council members today advanced a ballot measure to increase civilian oversight of the police. Supporters of the measure gathered outside City Hall before the council meeting. The proposal would create a new commission with subpoena power that will conduct independent investigations into complaints of officer misconduct. That commission would replace the current Community Review Board on Police Practices, which supporters of the measure say is too close to the police.
The concern from the community is it is just a rubber stamp of what police officers have already determined in their own investigations. This is why we stand here today, because we need an independent commission that actually has teeth.
The council today voted to start negotiations over the measure with city labor unions. Once those conclude, the council will vote on whether to put the measure on next year's ballot for a citywide vote. After outcry from parents, some buses are back for San Ysidro High School. The Sweetwater Union High School District is reinstating 2 bus routes. The district also added 110 seats to its busing routes. This comes after officials shut down 20 bus routes in May for students living outside a 2.5-mile radius. A new study details the disparities in test scores and school discipline for Black students at San Diego Unified School District. KPBS education reporter Joe Hong tells us the takeaway for parents.
The report, titled When They Teach Us, The Education of Black Students in San Diego, was authored by researchers at San Diego State University who described the study as a brief or a handbook for parents of Black students in San Diego. Along with persisting achievement gaps, the study found that the biggest disparity in suspension rates exists for boys in kindergarten through 3rd grade. In the 2017-2018 school year, a Black male student in these grades was nearly 4 times as likely to be suspended than his classmates. Mohammed Abdi is an academic success coach at SDSU and one of the co-authors of the study.
We consider this to be a major problem because, again, they are young children. They should not be getting suspended, especially in kindergarten through 3rd grade. These are the early years where they learn and, good practices start young.
In response to these findings, San Diego Unified Board President Sharon Whitehurst Payne said both parents and the district need to do their part.
One of the things that I've encouraged the system to do, this district to do, is to continue to look for ways that they can help teachers to work with children who have special needs, who may be acting in a different way than what they expect. Because it's a 2-sided story there.
Whitehurst Payne urges parents to enroll their children in preschool to better prepare them for the classroom environment. The district will host a community meeting later this month at Lincoln High School with the researchers to discuss these issues. Joe Hong, KPBS News.
The owner of the Chargers is angrily denying a report that the team might be moving to London. The sports website The Athletic reported that the league is considering a relocation. It would be partly due to the Chargers struggling to build a fan base in LA since leaving San Diego. Today, team owner Dean Spanos reacted with an expletive-laced defense. He says the team will be there for a very long time. The Chargers will have an international audience next week, not in London, but when they play the Chiefs in Mexico City. Expect more chilly mornings in the days ahead here in San Diego. Regina Miller has details in tonight's forecast.
Well, a cool start, but then seasonably warm and dry through the afternoon. Temperatures right around what we'd expect to see. And the last 6 hours, you see with our satellite and radar, not much of anything going on here at all. During the nighttime hours, our temperature in Oceanside dropping to 44 degrees. We're going to drop to 53 in Chula Vista. And we'll have patchy low clouds and fog, only briefly covering areas near the coast. For the late week, we have a warm up in store. Temperatures are going to increase about 10 to 15 degrees above average. Not yet tomorrow. Tomorrow, our temperature in San Diego is at 73, 72 in Chula Vista. Borrego Springs gets to 91 with sunshine. Mount Laguna's at 65. But through early next week, we've got a warming trend, a little bit of an elevated fire risk as we'll have locally gusty east-northeasterly winds in the mountains, mostly less than 25 miles per hour, so not what we had been seeing. But we will have some of those local gusts in those areas. But look at how the temperatures warm up here. On Thursday on the coast, we're at 75, but by Friday, 81 degrees, 84 with plenty of sunshine by Saturday. And inland areas are going to be heating up as well. 83 degrees with plenty of sunshine on Thursday, 89 on Friday. We are up to 90 on Saturday, sunny and very warm. Mountain areas have plenty of sunshine around for Thursday at 65. Friday, we're at 65. We'll get to 68, mostly sunny by the end of the weekend. And on Thursday, we cool just a bit briefly here in the desert locations on Thursday. But then Friday, we're back up to 90 degrees, sunny and very warm. 90 degrees on Saturday as well. I'm Regina Miller, KPBS News.
The governor of Texas has ordered the city of Austin to evict its homeless population. And while some agree that cleaning out the camps will cut down on criminal activity, some wonder where the homeless will go. More now from reporter Ed Lavandera.
When state crews started cleaning up trash and filling dumpsters with the discarded belongings of homeless people who live under this highway in Austin, Texas, 56-year-old William Rainey just watched with tears in his eyes. Everything he owns fit in 2 shopping carts he had already packed up. Has this been an emotional day for you?
It has. You know, it's been very stressful. Some people don't like homeless people, like I said. They'd rather not see us out here.
The controversial homeless camp cleanup was ordered by Texas Governor Greg Abbott after months of sparring with Austin city officials. The city of Austin lifted a ban prohibiting homeless residents from camping in many parts of the city this past summer. In tweets, Governor Abbott has repeatedly accused city leaders of turning Austin into a lawless and dangerous place. Cleo Patricic says she quickly saw growing tent camps popping up under the highways near her home. She's fed up with the way city officials are fighting what she sees as a crisis.
Homeless is not a crime, absolutely it's not, but the behavior behind it that you see when it increases to, recklessness, aggressive panhandling, actively using drugs, drug needles, there's a drug top right there.
Austin's mayor says Governor Abbott isn't doing enough to help, which should involve picking up the phone.
Has he called you and talk about this?
I have not spoken with the governor about it directly.
Does that seem odd to you?
I wish I had more direct conversation with the governor of Texas.
The governor's office did not respond when we asked if he's spoken to Austin's mayor, but Abbott did tweet this video recently showing what appeared to be a homeless man attacking an SUV in downtown Austin in 2018. The man's family tells CNN he isn't homeless, but has mental health issues and was off his medications that day.
I don't think he cares about homeless people.
Chris Baker runs a homeless advocacy organization called The Other Ones. His volunteers were trying to save some people's belongings from being trashed.
And I'll tell you that, evicting people from living under a bridge is not a solution that's going to have any kind of lasting effect. This is theater. This is political theater.
We requested an interview with Governor Abbott, but we never heard back on that question. But the governor's office did say that they will continue to do these cleanups around the city. But when you talk to people who live under these overpasses, they say these cleanups are not helping them.
You think Governor Abbott is helping here?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Cleo Patricic is a self-described liberal who has never voted for a Republican. She says it pains her to welcome Governor Abbott's tweets.
Somebody's listening to us because when it comes down to it, we all live here.
Yeah, I feel comfortable out here. You know, I'm safe. I feel safe. I'm around people that I know that camps with me.
After the state crews finished cleaning out the underpass, William Rainey and others who live here came right back. This, for now, is home. Ed Lavendera, CNN, Austin, Texas.
The more data, the better the AI works.
There will be a Chinese tech sector, and there will be an American tech sector.
When I increase productivity through automation, jobs go away.
It has pervaded so many elements of everyday life. How do we make it transparent and accountable?
Frontline, tonight at 10 on KPBS.
Twitter has said it will ban political ads next year, and now it's tackling disinformation as it relates to the 2020 census. A group of lawmakers from Florida is asking Twitter's CEO for details on how it plans to deal with the threat. They want the social network to ban false information and identify false accounts. Twitter said in a statement that it's working with the Census Bureau on the issue. Facebook has taken heat lately for its refusal to ban false political ads. A man in San Francisco is using that as a launching point to run for governor and use his candidacy as a protest. He spoke to Capital Public Radio's Chris Nichols.
Adriel Hampton describes himself as a political activist, one who's pulled a few stunts before. But after he announced his campaign for governor would intentionally run false ads on Facebook, the social media company said he can't exactly do that.
To be singled out for censorship by Facebook specifically because I'm challenging their broken policies and calling for citizen oversight and democratic oversight and legislative hearings in Sacramento is just not only is it ludicrous, it's obscene.
Specifically, Facebook says Hampton's ads will be eligible for third-party fact-checking. That means the ads could eventually include warnings that they've been debunked and Facebook could diminish their visibility. Meanwhile, Hampton says other candidates won't be penalized.
So the logic of that is that if you lie about lying, it's okay to run those lies in Facebook, but if you're truthful about lying, you can't lie. You can't run those ads on Facebook.
Amid the Facebook controversy last week, Twitter announced it will stop accepting all political ads. In Sacramento, I'm Chris Nichols.
A coalition group has filed a lawsuit against President Trump's rollback on light bulb regulations. The Trump administration argued it's not weakening the standards because the regulations aren't in effect yet. It also said the Obama-era rules could cause light bulb prices to increase by almost 300%. But environmental groups say that's not true and that less efficient bulbs would cost consumers more to operate. At one point, the president even criticized energy-efficient bulbs as, quote, no good. California activists hope a new study fuels movement in their bid to get the state's second-largest pension system to divest from fossil fuel stocks. KPBS reporter Eric Anderson has details.
Fossil Free California says it makes financial sense for the state's second-largest pension fund to move its investments out of fossil fuel companies. An accounting firm's review of the $239 billion fund found CalSTRS could have made $5.5 billion more between 2009 and 2019 without fossil fuel investments. Activist Sandy Emerson says some members of the fund's board are receptive to divesting, but she's not sure the entire panel is convinced.
The funds seem to insist on staying invested in order to engage with the companies, and engaging with fossil fuel companies is not the guarantee of anything. You cannot ask the fossil fuel companies to change their core business.
CalSTRS officials released a written statement that acknowledged the risks climate change posed to the pension fund's portfolio. The fund said CalSTRS does not base investment decisions on short-term trends. The University of California system recently committed to divesting from fossil fuel stocks, and California this year passed a new law requiring pension funds to consider climate impacts when they make investment decisions. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
NASA is looking for a new way to get astronauts into space. New technology from Boeing might be it.
3, 2, 1, 0.
And they call it the Starliner capsule. This is a video from a test on Monday in New Mexico. The capsule launched a mile into the air and then parachuted back down to the desert floor. Boeing was testing what it calls an abort system that would allow a quick and safe return. There was no crew on this test. The first manned test is planned for next year. Adidas is floating around the possibility of testing its footwear in space. It has signed a new partnership with the International Space Station. The first phase will focus on testing products in microgravity. NASA says that's the condition where people or objects appear to be weightless. Adidas says it plans to study the range of motion in the human body and how muscle development is affected without gravity. The first of its kind tests are slated for next year. You can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org/evening edition. Thanks for joining us tonight. Have a great evening.